welcome back Steffi Czerny for round 2. Thank you so much. Please all give a warm welcome to Steffi and she'll introduce her guest.
Hello.
Thanks.
Who of you have ever heard from Google? Nobody. Please raise your hand. You have to do a little gymnastics. You know, I don't want you to sit so tired in the seats just listening to an elderly person. An elderly person who has some friends in the internet tech world. And one of these friends is coming now with me on stage. We have a long, long journey together. We know each other for 16 years. Patrick, come on stage. Patrick Warnking.
Hi. Great to be here.
Patrick,
thank you, Steffi.
Introduce yourself. What are you doing?
So I have the pleasure to have a new role. But let me first ask you 2 questions. Who of you is thinking right now about how to be bold and responsible on AI? Anybody thinking about how to be bold and responsible?
Only 6 people. It's unbelievable.
About
there must
AI?
Be 100.
Let me ask you a second question. Who of you thinks that purpose and passion is important for what you do? Finally.
That's good.
Okay. And that is a little bit what is part of my story. We know each other from Munich.
Yes, we know each other. 16 years ago. Imagine some of you have been in kindergarten then.
Well, yes. So I had the pleasure to meet Stephanie a few days after I joined Google. Actually, from a large corporate company at that time, many people still thought it was crazy to join Google, a small text advertising company.
Why did you go to Google?
So,
16 years ago.
That is actually the reason why I took now the new role, and maybe I can share that in a second. It's that I believe next to passion and purpose, there is a third very important element for your career and for each of us that we should focus on. And that is learning curve, right? So at that time I joined Google because I was at a large corporate company, the largest broadcaster in Germany. My role was commercial director, building all the digital stuff and future stuff. But still, I had been there for 10 years and, well, learning curve was not that steep, right? And I figured if I could go to Google, maybe it would get steeper. And it did. It actually did. And that is...
That's a very good point. Each of you should ask himself or herself, what challenges me? Am I lazy in my new job, or am I not interested anymore? What is the next challenge in my life? I think it's one of the big lessons we all have to learn. And you took the challenge. You've been curious enough.
Well, yes, and then I took another challenge at Google. I'm Swiss, so when the country manager role for Google Switzerland opened up in 2010, I applied, I went to Zurich. I had the pleasure to be a member of a great team that continued to grow in Switzerland. We took Google Switzerland from 500 to 5,000 engineers from 86 nationalities, making it the largest research and development hub outside the US. And we kind of built a public-private partnership around an innovation hub. And I think innovation hubs are important, and we see one here. But to answer your question now about this new role is, I was sitting in Switzerland at the beginning of last year, 12 years in my role as a country manager for Google Switzerland, family, 5 kids, a few animals, everything was great. 5 kids, yes. And I learn a lot from them, so they helped me with my learning curve. But everything was great, and then actually I was shocked when the war broke out. And I looked deeper into this region. I was very touched by the humanitarian help in this region, what everybody did. I knew some colleagues in this region. I knew the region was a great region here, Central and Eastern Europe, but I was super emotionally touched, and I realized how important the values are of peace and of democracy and working together. And I know how this region stood up for these values over the last 30 years. I know how much this region innovated, basically the whole countries, politics, democracy, society, everything, innovated in the last 30 years. But for me, sitting in Switzerland last year, that was a big aha moment. So I applied for a role here in the region, and since the beginning of this year, I have the pleasure to look after this region, over 20 countries in Central Eastern Europe, and I'm super passionate about it. My learning curve is super steep. Yeah? I learn a lot, and I can see the great innovation happening here, and one of the innovation hubs in this region is definitely here. So I'm very grateful of being here with all of you.
I have the same feeling. I'm really an old veteran. I know the Googlers from '98 on. You know, '98. Some of you haven't been born then, and from then on, I'm following the strategy and the expansion of Google. It's really amazing. But now, Patrick, you are here, and you feel the energy here. You feel the purposes here. It's fascinating. And what is your strategy, Patrick? What are the first steps you want to do, and what will be your role in 3 years here?
Well, I will learn a lot, but for the moment, I'm focusing on 3 topics, right? People, businesses, and countries, how we can help there. But let's start with people. I think the number 1 topic is humanitarian help that continues, help people affected by the war, support them with all kind of tools, air raid alerts, apps, and things like that. We're doing a lot of that. But also investing in the talent. And that is something what I think is very important. I know that the talent pool here is incredible. That is why you have so much development out of this region. That is why we have the pleasure to have more than 300 engineering colleagues and many other functions in this country, Romania. We have been investing here for years. We have 8 different hubs with universities for digital garage and developing talent. So that will continue to be a big topic. And I think we have one big opportunity. We heard earlier about the problem, right? You have to think about the right problem when you want to build something or be an entrepreneur. You have to find the right problem. And if I can quote one of our founders, Larry Page at Google, he said, can it pass the toothbrush test? Right? What is the toothbrush test for startups? Can you build something that is that useful that users will use it at least twice a day? Every day. If you can do that, you solve a problem.
And he succeeded very well, don't he?
It kind of succeeded, yeah.
I have to tell you, when I met Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Anne Wojcicki, Megan Smith, this old Susan Wojcicki, this old Google founding team, Marissa Mayer, I learned something. They've been in the beginning a very, very focused team. You know, they all took the toothbrush test, and they have different qualities, but they knew and they learned together how to make a great product. So what I want to say is the teaming up of a great team is so important. If you're a founder, if you think about founding something, think of the team, how you put the team together. Don't you think that the founding team of Google was amazing?
Yes.
It was the foundation of this huge success.
Obviously, they did something right.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the problem, really. Sometimes the problem with the problem is that it is not obvious, right? And I think that is what I learned in Switzerland. In Switzerland, everybody, or not maybe everybody, but many people are in a comfort zone, right? Maybe they don't have a steep learning curve, but they don't realize it. And I think where we are now is we are at an inflection point. And that is what the whole conference here is about. And it's really amazing to listen here and to learn. It's around the topic of AI. And that is an inflection point. Is AI a problem at the moment? Probably not that big of a problem, right? Maybe 2 categories even. One category is that we feel some AI tools are not good enough,
Make
and
mistakes, sure.
hallucination and topics like that. We discussed that, right? And another category that we fear that it could be too powerful, so too good, right? And how do we do guardrails and protect us and be responsible about those things? But I think the topic right now is these countries are doing great. They are contributing to Europe. I think they're making Europe much better. They're contributing to innovation very strongly, to democracy, to many topics. But the question is, are we missing an opportunity maybe, or can we do more together actually to accelerate that, right? Can we do more? Can we do it better? Can we do it together? And there's one topic I'm passionate about, and I'll just quickly say the other two priorities. So it's people, business, and countries. So, and actually it's where it nicely comes together. Can we scale the upskilling for AI together? And I think that is the big opportunity. I don't think that many people today see it as a problem that needs to be solved. But in my view, it's a big, big opportunity. Because what is going to happen? You can call it machine learning or AI or whatever, but most probably many of you or all of you would agree that over the next years we will see new software tools, or software tools will become better with machine learning and AI. And many of you are working on that and doing amazing innovation, right? We are working on that. So it's pretty likely that software tools will become better. But what needs to go with that is more people need to learn how to use them and make them useful. Turn them into a toothbrush, right?
Ask to do good questions. Ask the best questions what we can do.
Yes, so can we actually create more scale on the upskilling and reskilling and do many initiatives together that have more scale than today, especially on the topic around AI knowledge and AI tools. And that doesn't mean that all of us need to code AI or machine learning or write code on it, right? But often it's just the tools, how you use them in the daily life of users, in the businesses, to come up with new ideas. You can use tools to code now, right? It's getting much better. So there's a huge opportunity, and I will give you one very concrete example. 2 weeks ago, in Ukraine, we launched basic AI trainings, open for anybody for free. 2 weeks ago. Within 5 days, 60,000 people have done these trainings. 60,000. Now, if that can happen within a few days in a country in this current situation, over the next 2 years, what can we do together to scale it for millions, to help millions of people to get access to these tools, to learn how to use the tools, how to make them useful, helpful, responsible, and take this region, accelerate it. The region is doing great, but how to accelerate the region on innovation.
Patrick, how will these tools change our societies?
I think that is a question that we need to shape together.
Yeah. Can you give me a direction?
Well, I can give you one example that is very close to our heart, or actually two. One is, we call it Safer with Google. We have these initiatives, Grow with Google. I mentioned a few examples, and Safer with Google. And one on the Safer with Google is actually how to fight misinformation. And these tools these new tools are capable of creating much more content. And in the wrong hands, that can do a lot of harm. We know in these countries the anxiety about elections and taking democracy to the next level in different stages in different countries, right? But at the same time, we will need these tools to actually figure out what are true information and what are not true information. Misinformation is a huge topic, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is an important one. That is a real purpose, and I think there are many people passionate about it. We're working with NGOs looking after that in different groups. So we need to use that. And I mean, in the end, AI or machine learning is a tool. It's like a fork, right? Most people, hopefully, just use the fork to eat. But of course, bad intention, you could use a fork to hurt somebody, right? So AI and machine learning is a tool, and we need to skill up more people how to use it in a responsible way and protect a little bit the values that we have as a society.
Absolutely. Patrick, you mentioned that this area contributes to a better Europe.
Yes.
What do you mean with this?
Well, I think it started, as I said, 30 years ago. When people stood up, you had many peaceful revolutions in these countries, and people just said, we want to have different values than democracies, and we are innovating our country. And that continues to happen, and that actually sets the tone for Europe, and actually is also, in my opinion, taking the EU to a better place. And the second one, now more current maybe, is we are discussing the guardrails for AI, right? We will need some guardrails. We need to discuss this. We need to have a conversation about this. How to be responsible there? How should we think about regulation? Probably we need some regulation as guardrails. But we need to do it in a smart way. Because if it is over-regulated, it will just happen somewhere else. It will not happen in our regions. And that is where these very innovative countries here in this region, and the Nordics, to be fair, can play a significant, important role for the future of Europe.
It's you. It's you who do this.
Yes.
It's you. Patrick, how do you team up? So you built a great network of countries, Google network of countries. What is your leadership skill different to the Switzerland?
I think we need to partner more. I'll give you one example for Switzerland, what we did, and I think you could do it here at a much bigger scale. We kind of founded an organization which was a private-public partnership, PPP, right? It's called Digital Switzerland. You can look it up. We founded it almost 10 years ago with a few companies. The goal still is, the mission is leading digital innovation hub. Make Switzerland a leading digital innovation hub. Why? Because Switzerland, and forgive me if I simplify here, no pain, and companies are not transforming fast enough. So we said, how can we accelerate that? And we did that, and in that partnership was the leading universities, namely EPFL and ETH, which are super advanced technical universities in Switzerland, very great on computer science, like here in the region, but also government, NGOs, and others, and even competitor companies. And they all created a round table and worked together on this topic, scaling STEM education, doing initiatives and programs for female founders, for girls going to STEM education, and I learned a very important lesson there. Maybe I can touch on that. But can we do things together? Each of us is doing something for where you work, where we work, and our business or our NGO or our passion and purpose. But actually, on top of that, shouldn't we do more together for the ecosystem and the countries we live in? And I moved to this region because I'm really passionate about the region. I took my family and moved here.
He's really fascinated by you, by your neighbor countries. It's addictive, don't you think so? And your passion makes me my passion. So let's talk a little bit about business. What about the business of Google?
I'm happy to go there. Yeah. Can we quickly say that about STEM education? I learned something, and maybe you can apply it here for Romania as well. In the beginning, we went out with this Digital Switzerland initiatives and tried to have all young students in school into coding classes. And we found out that not all of them wanted to do that. Why? Because it felt like a lot of math, it's hard to do. And I saw it with 2 of our 5 children are girls. I failed with our 2 girls, right, in the beginning. And then we changed the narrative. We listened to them, we asked them, we changed the narrative. We said, it was a time of Friday for Futures, right? Friday for Future demonstrations and so on. They would skip school. And I said, why are you doing that? Purpose. Okay, save the planet. Okay, and then we kind of changed the narrative to, if you want to save the planet, you have to understand climate data. You have to analyze data. You have to work with SQL tools or whatever, right? Or if you want to improve mobility, the traffic jams, or do something in medicine or whatever. So we started with the purpose and the passion and said, if you want to change that and make an impact, then you have to learn these tools, and for that you need to do a little bit of STEM education. And that changed completely, and we had much higher sign-up rates, including from young female.
Change the narrative. So what is the narrative, the business narrative of Google?
Well, of course, we see that the GDPs in these countries accelerate very fast. And if you look how these countries climb up the rankings internationally, the growth is much stronger than in other countries, also including other Western European countries. So this is a huge growth region. It's a region with a lot of talent. So there is definitely also a business opportunity.
That's good to hear. And what about creativity? How do you foster creativity within Google, within your team? But how, you had a lot of many examples, good examples, but creativity is more than purpose. Creativity is thinking out of the box. How do you foster this?
Well, you might know some of the stories, what we do, including the failure culture and the 20% projects and other things. But I think this will come to a new level now with the AI topic. We need to think differently. This is the big third wave in innovation over the last 30 years. Internet, mobile, AI, right? This is again changing anything. Now is the moment, the biggest moment in the last 15 years. So we need to do something differently, and we need to allocate resources differently, and we definitely need to test, iterate, optimize, learn differently. And one of the things that I'm passionate about for myself and for the teams, give more time for learning. For myself, trying to take 4 hours a week just for learning. Because if not, I didn't grow up with AI. I need to learn this stuff. I'm listening to podcasts at the moment, I'm reading interviews, I'm following a lot of stuff. There's so much great, excellent, exciting stuff. I need to test things, I need to test these chatbots, I need to test our Bart and see what's working, what's not working. So I need time for that. I cannot expect that all our teams do that on the weekend or on the evening. We need to give them extra time, because now is a more important moment for learning, to have a steep learning curve, and I'm sure that's a good investment.
And it's a very good end word. Never give up learning. Thank you, Patrick, for this very passionate words. I encourage you to talk to Patrick and its team about Google and how Google is changing our world.
Thank you, Steffi, for inviting me, and to Philip and Vlad and all the other founders and the great team here. I'm super amazed and super grateful to be here with you. Thank you.
Never give up learning.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Steffi.